Alright, so today what we're working on is this weed whacker or weed eater, whatever you want to call it, but it's a Husqvarna, and I've had it for probably about 7 years, and it's been a really good weed eater, but it's been neglected lately, and it doesn't want to stay running. I can get it running, and then it has no power, and you kind of have to give it a bunch of, pull the trigger to give it a bunch of gas. It'll wind up and then it'll pretty much die, so you're just constantly like trying to give it gas. But what we're gonna do is start by trying to pull this carburetor off and just clean it out, and hopefully it's just a dirty carb. So let's start by pulling off this airbox cover. There's our filter. Got a couple of 8 mils. Take the choke lever and push it forward so that you can wiggle the airbox off. And then here we have our carburetor. You have your 2 fuel lines coming in from underneath right here. So as we pull the carburetor off, we'll have to pop those off unless we can just get them with our fingernail, or like you take a pair of pliers. Let's see. There we go. Take a pair of pliers, push down evenly on each side. Sometimes that works, or you get a fingernail in there. Then you also have your throttle cable here. It slips off with it. It's just shaped like that. So you just, to put it back on, we'll push it in, and then let's get these fuel lines off. So yeah, when we go to put this back on, just put that in and turn it, and that's it. And then this right here goes on that little J-looking piece of plastic, and that carburetor would go back on these studs. And as you pull the trigger, so now we have the carburetor off. Super simple. Did these fuel lines about 2 years ago, so they look like they're still in pretty good shape. Doesn't look cracked right there. It's getting close though, so. If you have a crack, you'll end up getting air and it won't draw fuel properly, so that'd be another reason that it won't run correctly. But let's get this carburetor pulled apart and see if we can find some dirty, grungy, nasty stuff in here. It's your primer bulb there. This is kind of like a little diaphragm. It'll let fuel in one side, and then the suction will pull fuel in, and then when you go to push the ball down, that passage will close off, another one will open up and it'll shove it down to the carburetor. And if these go bad, you can buy just these primer bulbs. It's just that easy to replace. Just pop it, oop. Yeah, they'll just pop out, and they'll dry rot. They'll dry rot just the same as a fuel line will, but this one's still good. Yeah, we'll just blow these passages out. Okay. Gotta be smarter than the carburetor. Set that aside. All right, now we're into the carburetor. You can see that grunge right there. Look at that, it's like gelled up. It's pretty much covering most of the little filter. That stuff. Oh yeah. Look at that. So that definitely tells me she's probably starving for fuel, which would explain everything. So just keep going and cleaning this out. We don't want to take it apart. Can't really take it apart too much farther. We'll take this side off and just try and blow the passages out the best we can. Another thing you can do is these carburetors are ridiculously cheap in the aftermarket. So like my chainsaw, I got a Pool & Pro, which is a rebranded Husqvarna, and for that thing I just bought like 3 carburetors because they were like 15 bucks a piece. I think I'm down to my last one, my last extra one. Another diaphragm here, looks to be in good enough shape. It's the needle that would let the fuel in, or our bowl needle, if you will. But yeah, everything in here looks fairly clean, so it looks like that filter caught all the nastiness, but we'll just blow this out, and you could pull that screw there and take your bowl needle out, but it all looks fairly clean, so maybe we'll just hold it up and spray in there a little bit. That ought to do her. While we have it off, we're going to reset the high and low idle screws. So we're going to take them all the way into kind of what they call a soft seat, so where you don't really have to crank on it. And then out 1.5 turns is the base setting. So that's a half, 1.5. So that was our low. You can see there's a L. I think you can see maybe right there, there's an L and there's a H, low and high. So let's do the high idle now. Soft seat. So we got half, 1.5, and we'll adjust them 1/8 of an inch or 1/8 of a turn from there once we get it all reassembled and hopefully started back up. So let's go ahead and get this carb put back on. And this uses a if you don't have this little kit, it came with a bunch of these and like a spark plug gapper. But different carburetors, so there's like a double D. The one we use for this is a little spline. If you look in there, if you can kind of see they're splined. So that 2 is splined, matches up. But without these, you really can't get in there because I put this little guard on there so you can't get to it with a needle nose or anything. So if you don't have a set of these, I don't remember if it's a 3 or 4 pack, there's probably another one floating around here somewhere, but I'd grab some. They even have this one they call the Pac-Man. that's pretty much it for cleaning this thing out and going back to the base setting on the idle screws. So let's throw it back together and see if we can get it to start up. Enough hose here that I was able to just trim some more off of this one and use it on this other side here. So, but looking at this new fuel line is definitely on the short list for this trimmer, but this will be enough to get it going and get the yard trimmed this time. Looks like it actually wants slightly larger fuel line than what I had on it from the last time I changed these, so. All right, put this fuel cap on before we spill it everywhere because we forget. Okay, airbox. Studs. Our nuts to go on our studs. Dirty air filter. Airbox cover. All right, so here's the primer bulb on the back side here. Give it some pumps, see if we get some fuel in there. There we go, there's some pressure, some resistance. Yeah, look at it fill up there. Perfect. Okay, so we're ready to choke it. Let's give it some pulls. Alright, well that wraps up this project. Let's get on to the next one. What I need to do is go get some new weed killer and get all those weeds out of my rocks. But stay tuned for the next video. Thanks for following along, and hit that subscribe button if you enjoy watching me fix junk. Till next time, take care.